What message were the creators of Stranger Things trying to portray to us as an audience? Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 themes that I think are present in Stranger Things. In each chapter, I believe there is one main character development that rules them all. They set the pace and the emotional baseline for each part of the story. In Season 1 or Chapter 1, we're getting to know Eleven and having her acclimate to society, while Will is also acclimating to his new environment. Eleven being presented as awkward because she doesn't know anything about society or social norms. The main theme being learning not just for ourselves as the audience, but for each character in the show and knowing who each character is. Ultimately, to build up the foundation of our interest in the series, making the first season 11 season. Season 2 takes a completely different approach, and I believe it's centered around Jim Hopper. The retired military man, now town sheriff, has lost motivation in his job and ambition in life to try and achieve more. After all the strange occurrences and dealing with Will's mom's complaints, Jim Hopper finally decides to get more involved in his investigations. The theme that I noticed in this season was responsibility. Hopper would reinstate order into Hawkins by checking out Hawkins' labs and investigating the corruption that occurred, ultimately uncovering the evil experiments and the cover-ups that ensued. A byproduct being that Hopper now cared about what was going on in the town and what happened to the people that were experimented on. This includes tracking Will's health and well-being, and also reigniting his role as a father figure. He takes on the responsibility for investigating a mess that he believes went under his nose, becoming so invested to the point where he now no longer relies on the government and uses his own independent array of skills and intellect to try and uncover the truth. By the end of the season, we see his full character development and involvement in the series as he solidifies himself as a responsible man who is now in charge of taking care of Eleven, making Season 2 Hopper's story. Season 3 brings new relationships between the characters into light, but the main character development in this season is centered around Max's brother, Billy, also known as William Hargrove. This character is a nonchalant man who has a very troubled past. Blessed with good looks and winning the hearts of various ladies, Billy spends his time as a lifeguard, but also poking fun at school with Steve Harrington and using Max as an outlet for his frustrations. After what will end up being a life-changing incident, Billy gets into an accident and is infected by the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer ends up possessing his body and changing his day-to-day activities to luring people into a dark hole to become a part of a physical being. Although the character is not completely under the Mind Flayer's control, we can assume some of his anger and behaviors do resonate with the original character. Ultimately, he's used as a pawn. After finishing creating a physical being for the Mind Flayer, he now has to bring Eleven to it, while also staying under the radar and getting Max out of the way. He begins to show signs of remorse, but believes he is powerless to stop himself. The Mind Flayer being manages to scratch Elle and somehow removes her powers. In a final confrontation at the mall, the being and Billy both have Elle in their grasp, with Elle being able to reach Billy through one of his memories when he was happy. Billy ends up making the ultimate sacrifice, saving Elle and going against his once master, the Mind Flayer. To everyone's shock, the Mind Flayer immediately discards Billy. Hopper also seemingly sacrifices himself, adding to the argument that the theme in Season 3 is sacrifice, and ultimately, it is Billy's story. Season 4 is meant to be a more hectic narrative, mainly because the recurring theme is maturity. The character's growth we're going to be focusing on for this season is going to be Eddie Munson's. Seen as an outcast and leader of the Hellfire Club, Eddie Munson is no new man to rejection from his peers and being different. Eddie constantly flunking high school and responding to situations immaturely allows him to be singled out when situations go bad. In this season, he's singled out as a killer when people start mysteriously dying in Hawkins. The real killer is Vecna, and the only people who believe Eddie are the people aware of the Upside Down. Although Eddie is framed, he doesn't do much to help his reputation. Eddie only hides in fear because he knows that the town doesn't like him. After some time, Eddie decides to take the initiative and go with the crew in the Upside Down to help them take down Vecna and clear his name. Accompanied by Dustin, Eddie decides to play some Metallica in the Upside Down to distract a lot of the bat-like monsters that are covering Vecna's home and protecting him, allowing Steve and the others to get an opening and attack Vecna directly. After making sure that Dustin is safe on the other side, Eddie cuts the rope leading back to the Upside Down. Realizing that something must have gone wrong with the plan, he's trying to buy more time for the others to attack Vecna. He takes it upon himself to lead the bat-like monsters away from the portal, while riding a bike and carrying a spear and shield. The theme of maturity plays a very big role in this scene. screen. Eddie is no longer ignoring his capabilities and what he sees as his responsibility to others, and realizing what he can do to protect them and help them in his own way. The moment of maturity exactly happens as Eddie falls off his bike and begins to run away from the Bat Horde, realizing that this might be his only chance to actually change what he thinks about himself for himself, and by helping others in the same process. Eddie decides to be brave, stands his ground, pulls off his shield and his spear, and he takes on the Bat Horde by himself. Seeking no recognition for his actions, and coming to terms with some regretful choices he's made in the past, Eddie's story finishes as that of a hero and a brave warrior, cast out by society, but still giving everything to protect them. Season 4 is definitely Eddie's story, and it will forever be one of my favorites. Now, before I reveal the final character development that we're going to be focusing on for the show in Season 5, I chose these characters based on how the audience's emotions were affected, or which ones affected the emotions the most. Based on this, I feel that William Byers was the character that shocked everybody in the final season. His insecurities and lack of confidence were prevalent in the show, especially during the final season. As Robin Buckley becomes almost a mentor for Will, she hatches a plan that helps him gain some confidence in his own abilities against his mother's wishes. In one of the scenes at the military base, Vecna appears and takes down everyone. He ends up revealing some information about Will, expanding on the idea that Will is a part of the hive mind, but actually he has telekinetic powers along with that. As Will sees his friends in danger from Demogorgons inside of the hive mind, he fully embraces his capabilities and stops all 3 Demogorgons at the same time, using Vecna's own powers to stop the attacks on his friends. Will has now become his D&D character, Will the Wise. Realizing that he's acting on a burst of emotions, Will takes the time to work on himself and decides to have a big conversation with everybody in his group. The conversation itself seems a little bit awkward, but I think it was on purpose. I believe the producers were trying to recreate the awkwardness of this conversation from a different time era. Will tells everybody that he's been feeling very distant lately because he's been dealing with his own emotions, and the only way to conclude some of his feelings is by talking with everybody at once about what he's realized about himself. He believes he has to do this in order to clear his mind while they're fighting Vecna. From being a scared boy to a powerful sorcerer, Will has come full circle in the series, but mainly in Chapter 5. Will shocked everybody and found his confidence and became his own person. That's why I believe that Season 5 is Will's story. But what do you think? Don't forget to smash that like button, guys. Thanks for watching.